Good morning, everyone, and welcome all. I will now call to order this November 17th, 2025 meeting of the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners. I will now ask our clerk to the board to call the roll for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Helm,
Here.
Commissioner Schrader,
Here.
Commissioner West,
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Present.
Mr. Chair.
Here.
Mr.
Thank
Chair, all five commissioners are present and accounted for.
Thank you, Andrew. And the purpose of our meeting today is to fill the current vacancy in State House District 51. I'm Clackamas County Chair Craig Roberts. The Secretary of the State has asked me to chair this meeting. As prescribed by state law, the political party to which former Representative Drazen belonged has chosen nominees for us to consider. In alphabetical order of last name, the nominees are Matt Bunch, Carl Exner, Dana Hinman Allen, and I now will introduce our staff to support for today's meeting. Our legal advisor today is Clackamas County Assistant Legal Counsel Jeffrey Munns. Our clerk today to the board is Andrew Jaraki, and I will now turn our clerk over to clerk and ask him to explain the procedure for today's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The order of today's meeting will be as follows. First, public comment will be received. Next, each nominee will have the opportunity to offer an opening statement. Then, there will be one question per commissioner for all nominees to answer. After commissioner communications have concluded, each nominee will make a closing statement. There will be a deliberation. Chair Roberts will call for a vote following those deliberations. There is an optional time for a statement by the selected nominee. And finally, any closing announcements necessary. In a few moments, Chair Roberts will open the meeting for public comment. Chair Roberts will specify the amount of time granted per person. Once public comment has concluded, the nominees will be invited to make opening statements. Each nominee shall have an opportunity to make a 2-minute opening statement. The nominees will be called upon in alphabetical order of last name: Matt Bunch, Carl Exner, and Dana Hinman Allen. We will then move to the question and answer portion of the meeting. Each commissioner will ask one question, which all nominees will have equal opportunity to answer. For each board question, nominees will have up to 2 minutes to answer. For fairness, I will rotate the nominee speaking order for each board question. And as a reminder to the public, no testimony will be received during or after the nominee Q&A portion. Once the Q&A portion is completed, each candidate will be called upon to provide 2-minute closing statements in reverse order from the opening statements. I will keep the time for all speaking. Chair Roberts may call a brief recess after the question and answer portion as needed. Following that, we will begin deliberations. After board discussion, Chair Roberts will call for a vote. The vote will be in order of reverse seniority, concluding with Chair Roberts. State law requires a nominee to receive a plurality to be appointed. With 5 commissioners present and 3 nominees, this means the nominee who receives the vote of at least 3 commissioners will be appointed. If no nominee receives at least 3 votes, Chair Roberts will call for additional deliberations and votes as needed until a nominee is selected. That concludes my overview of the meeting, Mr. Chair. May we please begin with public comment?
Thank you, Andrew. Before we begin public comment, I just want to thank those who've already submitted written comments. We received 16 emails, and the board appreciates all the people who took the time to share their perspective with us. I'll now turn to our clerk and ask him how many people online today wish to make comments. How many do we have, Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you are attending this meeting as a member of the public and wish to comment, this is your opportunity to please raise your hand. Once again, if you are attending this meeting and you wish to comment, please raise your hand. Mr. Chair, I see 3 total hands raised.
Okay, I think with that number, we can give each individual 3 minutes, which falls within our time allotment. So would you please moderate that for us, Andrew?
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And one more reminder, if you wish to comment during the public comment period of this meeting, please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order that I see. As another reminder, you will have 3 minutes. Please begin your comments with your name and your area of residence. First, I see Snezhana. Snezhana, I'll allow you to speak. You'll have 3 minutes. Snezhana, are you speaking right now? We're not able to hear you.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please proceed.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, commissioners. My name is Snezhana Safrov, and I am in Clackamas County, living in House District 51. I ask you respectfully to nominate Dana Hinman Allen for the House District 51 appointment. Dana has been an active and engaged member of our community and a longtime resident of Clackamas County within House District 51. Her dedication, experience, and deep understanding of the district's needs makes her an outstanding candidate for this position. I strongly ask that you appoint Dana Heidemann Allen to represent us in House District 51. I'm confident she will serve with integrity, commitment, and genuine passion for our community. Again, thank you for your time, and please consider Dana Hinman Allen as our representative in House District 51. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I see iPhone. I see one iPhone that has its hand raised. If you could please unmute yourself and introduce yourself, you'll have 3 minutes. And if you are calling in, a reminder that it is *6 to unmute yourself. *6 to unmute yourself if you are calling in. If you are speaking right now, we cannot hear you. A reminder, if you're calling in, it is *6 to unmute. It appears this user is experiencing technical difficulties. This is a final call for any other member of the public who is attending and has not yet commented who wishes to do so to please raise your hand. Seeing no other hands, I'll return to the iPhone user. Are you able to speak? It appears not. Mr. Chair, I see no other hands raised. The iPhone user still has their hands raised. I've allowed them to speak, but it appears they're still having technical difficulties. Would you like to wait and troubleshoot, or would you like to move on?
Let's give it about. Could you try just a little bit more? Spend another minute or so, seeing if you could get that technical aspect worked out for us.
Of course, Mr. Chair. If you are the iPhone user who's attempting to speak, you currently have the ability to speak. And a reminder, if you're calling in, it is *6 to unmute. Mr. Chair, it appears they're going to be unable to overcome their technical difficulties in a short amount of time.
Right. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you for the comment. And clerk, why don't we go ahead and move on? What's next?
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next, we will move to opening statements. Nominees, please remember you will each have 2 minutes for your statement, and I will keep the time. Mr. Bunch, please begin.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Again, my name is Matt Bunch, and I'm honored to be considered for appointment to represent House District 51. As a lifetime Oregonian, raised in Eastern Oregon and living in unincorporated Clackamas County, I've built my life here. Raising a family, running small businesses, and serving in civic organizations to strengthen our communities. I've run for this seat before because I believe in bringing common sense, integrity, and local values to Salem. I'm not a career politician. I'm a neighbor, grandfather, and someone who shows up, does a job, and holds others accountable. If appointed, my priorities will address real concerns of our district. I'll fight top-down mandates on land use, housing, schools, ensuring local leaders preserve our community character and self-determination. We need stronger support for law enforcement, tackle rising crime and homelessness. Families in Canby, Sandy, and Estacada deserve safe, proud neighborhoods, not policies that foster chaos. I'll also advocate for water and wastewater issues in small cities, transit stability in Sandy and Canby, and funding the Sunrise Corridor and our recovery campus. Let's refocus schools on reading, writing, math, and critical thinking, removing politics to prepare students for careers and citizenship. With families and business facing rising costs, I oppose new taxes like the recent transportation increases and will cut wasteful spending to prioritize essential investments. Through my roles with the FFA Foundation, Clackamas County Farm Bureau, Fair Board, and Soil and Water Conservation District, I'm committed to advocating for agriculture and local economies. In summary, I offer real-world experience, deep roots, and a focus on results, not headlines. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Next, Mr. Exner, go ahead, please.
Sure, I'm Carl Exner, and I am honored to be considered for the appointment of District 51's elected position. One of the things that has, I think, my advantage for being in this position is I have been involved in Sandy City's council positions for about 14 years. And during that time, I have spent many hours working on some of the intense issues involving Sandy and the Clackamas County. And I've been involved in a number of different boards that are integral to the places that are inside Sandy and the county. Things like the Sandy River Watershed Council, things like the Fire Board here in Sandy, Oregon Trail School District budgets. Those kind of things, I think, give me the intuitive understanding of what some of the things are that happen in not only our county, but also in our state. I have lived in the city of Sandy for about 30 years, so I'm pretty familiar with the issues that are in our county. And one of the things that I have always been able to do, I believe many of the people that look at my performance is my ability to reach across the aisle and be able to find consensus, being able to find solutions that make a difference. And in that respect, I believe I come qualified for the way I can help the state and the county and the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Finally, Ms. Himan Allen, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First, I want to say I'm honored to be one of the nominees for this House District 51, and I take that very seriously. Just a little bit about myself. Most of you, I've been on a campaign trail at one time or another, but I am a realtor and have been for years and years. I've also worked at the school district. I've also had tons of public service that I'd like to highlight and how I think it would help me with this appointment process if I am chosen. I served on the East Metro Board of Realtors in 2015, which was excellent. I'm currently just finishing up a 4-year Parks Board term for Clackamas County. I also served as a delegate in my local party, championing issues that affect really all of us. I also ran for Clackamas County Commissioner twice, which I think has given me a very diverse perspective, meeting with all types of people and backgrounds and perspectives in my runs for Clackamas County, which I think would serve me very well going into the legislature. I really want to focus on bridge building and positive relationships and communication. And I know that the county has a lot of issues that they'd like to address, such as the Recovery Center, which I think is an excellent project to address the root causes of homelessness. And I think that is something that I would advocate and champion for in the legislature. I also have a great understanding of the housing issue and can be creative with that in the legislature. I also feel like the Sunrise Corridor is an excellent beautifying, economic, and revitalizing project that I'd like to be in on. And I love all of the information online about it. It's incredible. I also feel like I could be an advocate for wildfire recovery.
Thank you, Ms. Himenow.
Thank you.
That is 2 minutes. Mr. Chair, that concludes all nominee opening statements.
Thank you, Andrew. And now let's proceed with the board questions for the nominees. So clerk, would you please call on each of the commissioners for their question?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Each commissioner has one question. I'll begin with Commissioner Helm. Commissioner Helm, please proceed with your question.
Thank you, Andrew, and welcome everyone. I want to talk about infrastructure. As you know, candidates that cities of Canby and Sandy and Estacada are the fastest growing communities in our county, and they are lacking the infrastructure needed to add more jobs. And they're working on expanding their urban growth boundaries. They're running into issues with the state. I'd like to know, what can you do as a legislator to support these communities and ease their burden of growth? And how can we find funding to get infrastructure so that they are allowed to grow?
Thank you, Commissioner. Nominees, for fairness, like I said, I will rotate the order of speaking. I will call on each of you for your turn to answer Commissioner Helm and all commissioners' questions. So to begin, Mr. Exner, would you please first answer?
Sure. In the city of Sandy, and I hope that a lot of people understand that we have been really struggling with developing our infrastructure of sewer and water in our city. And because we have grown so much, it's been one of those things that we've been really almost desperately trying to work with DEQ, with our planning structure, and with all the loans and the things that need to be put into place to make that infrastructure growth. And I'm aware that Estacada and Molalla and many of the other portions of our county, unincorporated, are in the same sort of boat as we grow so fast. One of the things that I think I bring to the table is that I have been involved in the trenches, as it were, to be able to talk about how to get through some of these problems. We have developed a solution there in Sandy that I believe creates a understanding of how to build forward on how to deal with housing issues, as well as the dealing with our infrastructure. And it's not just sewer and water. One of the things that we did early on in my career as a city councilor was we put together a Sandy Net internet program to get to every single house within our community with high-speed internet. We've also worked with some of the gas and the electricity lines that established through some of the difficult areas that didn't have when I first began as city councilor. So I believe that that really puts me up in a place where I can help be a part of and be a solutions-oriented person in the legislature. So that, I believe, gives me a strong hold in how to think those through. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Exner. Next, Ms. Hinman Allen, same question to you.
Um, Thank you. That's a great question. And with all the housing developments going in, it has put a big strain on the infrastructure. So not to overlap on Carl's point about Sandy, but I want to discuss Estacada in the district has outpaced its sewage system, and it's like 3 years out, and actually it's had some wastewater that has been leaching into the water. So I mean, these types of projects we have to get ahead of, so we are not like waiting while things are not at capacity. And also do some strategic planning on the housing, so where the infrastructure is part and parcel to it, so we don't get in this backfilling position to like correct after the problem has gotten too big. So I feel like I can think through the housing, the urban growth boundary issues. I'm very well versed on it. I sell real estate in and out every day, so I understand the housing issues that face us, whether it's the cost, the infrastructure, the land use, the urban growth boundary, and how we can be sensitive to all stakeholders and expand the urban growth boundary in the right places at the right time with community input. So I feel like I definitely have a handle on the housing infrastructure issue that I can advocate for in the legislature. So, and I'm also, I'm open. I want to sit at the table with people and all stakeholders that understand the challenges. We've got the systems development charges that are, a huge issue. And I think there's ways we can do things to make the cost of building more affordable, and while also protecting the communities and the aesthetics and the functionality. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hinman Allen. Finally, Mr. Bunch, please answer Commissioner Helm's question.
Commissioner, thanks for the question. The ability for local elected officials to make these decisions in regards to growth is affected by what Salem's doing. I think if we can get Salem to refocus on the foundation of growth, and that would be the infrastructure, so then the elected officials then can determine how to grow. I think is real important. Estacada has been challenged by the wastewater and water issues for a number of years now. Sandy in the same boat. Canby right now has got a huge issue on a moratorium on growth because of power. And so I think, again, having Salem focused on the infrastructure, the ability for the local officials to determine how to grow is probably a big priority for me. Thank you again for the question.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Commissioner West to ask the next question. Commissioner West, please proceed.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. So a big priority for the Board of County Commissioners, and a huge priority that you guys have all heard me talk about, is Clackamas County's recovery-oriented system of care. And we had an amazing partner in the House, and Christine Drazen, on this issue, and she was very aware of what was going on the local level. So whoever gets this seat has big shoes to fill. This district's unique also because I think it might be the only district that's solely in Clackamas County that touches Clackamas County. We have a lot of different legislators that are partially in Clackamas County, but this is truly a Clackamas County district, so it's unique in that way. Regarding our recovery-oriented system of care, and this will have a huge impact how you answer this on how I will vote today. Regarding this, what do you know about it? And why do you think Clackamas County has been uniquely effective compared to the rest of the region in addressing the homelessness and substance use crisis? And how would you be supportive and help the state be a better partner in our recovery campus? So I want to know if you know about the history, why we're successful, and then how would you be uniquely positioned to help us be successful to get the funding and the resources needed to finish out our multi-acreage recovery campus?
Thank you, Commissioner West. Ms. Hinman Allen, please begin.
Well, first of all, I believe in the recovery campus, and I believe in the recovery model, because you cannot just put somebody into recovery and then send them back out with no scaffolding, no support, no in-house skill building. And what I think is uniquely wonderful about this recovery center, and I've read deep into it, that you have all of those modalities in the recovery center to where a person can not only get clean and sober, but they can also build skills, learn, be able to reintegrate into society and have like community outreach that will connect with it. So you can't, if somebody has severe mental health issues, they need a lot of scaffolding and they need a lot of follow-up. So it's really, the campus is a hub to rebuild people's lives. And I think it's addressing the causes of homelessness. A lot of people, and there's another issue that kind of touches in my personal life with people in my family, that a particular person, I won't get into detail, they have met some mental health challenges. And part of the problem is you can get somebody medicated, but if they have no follow-up support services, no treatment option and community liaison, then they will fall into the same position. And that is a lot of our people on the street in homelessness, is they have severe mental health issues and they're not able to get the full holistic care. So I will be an advocate in helping Clackamas County complete that project, because people need to have options. That is what our safety net is built for, is people that are vulnerable, people that cannot find recovery without a lot of support and a lot of structure. So I will be your champion in the legislature for that project, because it will actually help the community and reintegrate into the people who reintegrate in the workforce and into
Ms. Himmen-Allen.
positive life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Bunch, please answer Commissioner West's question.
Commissioner, great question. I think we'll go from the success that you've had is because of the holistic approach that you've taken to the issue, whether it's addiction, mental health, regardless of the reason they're in homelessness. We've created a system where each and every step of the way is attended to as far as their needs and wants and requirements to get healthy and back productive in society. So I think the holistic view, regardless of why it's there, is the key to the success. And again, maintaining the support for that infrastructure so that it can continue and not miss a beat at any step in the process, to make that individual's travels through the system successful. So thanks again for the question.
Thank you very much. Finally, Mr. Exner, please go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Commissioner West. I appreciate the question. It's one of those things that has been a big part of my life, not just for the time I've been here in the city of Sandy, but also in the last 5 years. My wife contracted COVID, and there was a long period of time. I went through many steps in the hospital situations, availability of doctors, the bringing people together to support my wife's illness, and all that has happened with that. And one of the things that I have been really appreciative of is the process that Clackamas County has put together to help recovery of not just sick and ailing, but also the drugs, overdoses, and really our children who've been really struggling with overdose seen in the county, in the whole metro area. I have a nephew that has struggled with that for many years, and I've watched those things come and go, successes and failures. And it's really been a struggle for him to get that. One of the things that we've tried really hard to do here in Sandy is to establish a transportation system through our transit to get to the services in Oregon City, which is, from our location in Sandy, is sometimes a real difficult trial, getting to a place that's maybe an hour's drive away without the transportation that I would have maybe on their own, and being able to find a way to get there. And we've tried really to, I think, a success to make that happen. So there's one of the solutions that I would be working on as if I get appointed as a representative. The other thing I see is that the county is situated in a way that there is an excellent place to live. Housing is more available than it is in many other places within our metro area. And Clackamas is situated where commuting and being able to get to the facilities that are in and out of Clackamas are much more available.
Thank you, Mr. Exner. That is 2 minutes. Next, Commissioner Savis. Commissioner Savis, please go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I was really hoping we could ask more than one question. I know all three of these candidates. Thank you all for your participation. But I think there's two real significant issues that I would like to make sure are addressed. But I'll start with the one I have prepared, and that is on transportation. The rural areas, which primarily this district is, have always been handicapped in the sense that transportation funding in the rural areas has been very little, and the major focus has been on the urban areas served by, not served by, but basically regulated by through Metro and JPAC, the Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation. The act was formed over 10 years ago to address this issue. However, funding for the rural areas is few and far between. We have a paradigm in which the Region 1 or the region acts across the state are trying to reorganize, but yet ODOT is at this time in a crisis with this funding, and unfortunately, dollars are limited in going out. At the same token is we have a lot of growth, and our local rural roads, especially, are not being able to keep pace. When I talk to the mayors in the rural areas, all I hear about is the congestion that is handicapping them. I hear about transit challenges as well, where the monies aren't really going to where they're intended. And so I'd like to know, what your thoughts are about how you would address the rural areas in this district, or yeah, in your district, to make sure they get a fair shake.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Savis. First, Mr. Bunch, please answer.
Commissioner, thanks for the question. I think changing focus, the tenure, the age of the system, and where the dollars get divided up. TriMet seems to be evolved into more of a convenience transportation, where the rural areas are more dependency to get everyday challenges, shopping, medication, doctors. And so I think with the focus that they're more dependent on that system and development, I think we can refocus the efforts from a convenience in the TriMet area to more of a support for a dependency to make life accountable to the needs of the rural population. Thanks again for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Next, Mr. Exner, same question to you.
Sure, and thank you, Commissioner Savis, for your question. It's good to see you again. I know on my involvement in the C4 committee that we were involved in together, trying to figure out some of those solutions. And it's really an important piece for me because of the time I've seen and watched the growth of Clackamas County, all the traffic issues from our rural areas into the metropolitan areas. We're the ones that create the traffic issues, and our roads and trails, roads and the congestion that's part of that is really important to establish a better solution for that. One of the things that I see is the funding system that the state has been putting together right now is really a struggle in that they're looking for ways to increase the monies, which is needed for our transportation. But I think that the ODOT organization is focused on a lot of things that aren't the main thing. The main thing is to get transportation from A to B and back again. And sometimes I think that the ODOT has been forced into doing things that aren't the main thing. And so I think I would focus on trying to find a way to keep ODOT focused on making roads and trails, roads and congestion down. One of the things that I've been looking at is that ODOT has a lot of roads through the main cities, and Sandy in particular. I know that Canby has the same thing. Sometimes repairing the city's roads that are controlled by ODOT take a long time to get to. And one of the things that I would be proposing as one of my bills would be to see if the cities can't take first track at repairing some of the potholes and the issues in the city that are on these ODOT roads, and then getting reimbursed from ODOT to replace the monies.
That is 2
Thanks for the
minutes.
question.
Thank you, Mr. Exner. Finally, Ms. Hinman Allen, please go ahead.
Excellent. Great question, Commissioner Savas. I just got back from fortunate enough to go to Europe. I was in London, Paris, and Edinburgh. We didn't rent a car once, and we're a little behind in transportation as far as like having options. And I think just for example, coming down into Damascus, it is absolutely a gridlock. If we had an option for public transportation, it would offset the congestion. I think people need choices. Some people love to drive, some people like to take the bus, and not everybody, maybe later on in life feels comfortable driving in traffic. So they'd like an option. So I think addressing and our youth that would like to take a bus. We're out in Sandy, it's very rural. It'd be nice to have an option for people, a nice, safe option, and it would definitely save money. Excuse me, save money in infrastructure costs if we offsetted some of the congestion. So I would advocate for options, and at the legislature that it's great to be able to get around in different ways. The cost of insurance, the cost of, rising costs of registration, all those things are going to factor into what drives people to public transportation. I think if we can have safe, functional public transportation, it would be great. So I would advocate for that. We have to have a multitude of different ways for people to get around. So as far as the state goes and advocating dollars for it, I think that we're serving across a great span of people with diverse opinions on what kind of transportation they'd like to do. So I hope that did I answer your question to its fullest?
Chair, if I can do a follow-up to each, I guess really it's a funding crisis. So what can you do to assure that funds are available and they are distributed equitably to the rural areas?
Commissioner, what I might ask is, so we give each candidate the equal opportunity to respond to that instead of going all the way back. I just ask you to hold that question, and that if we have time, we'll get to it, and I'll put you on as first to ask that question near when we get through all the commissioners. So thank you, Commissioner Savas, for doing that for me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll now move to Commissioner Schrader. Commissioner Schrader, it is your turn to ask your question.
Well, thank you. We have a wonderful set of candidates here. It's one of the reasons why this is always such a difficult process, because from what I've been hearing, I think all of them have major strengths that will serve our county. But here's my question. Workforce, an educated workforce, and economic development are top priorities for our communities here in Clackamas County. What can you do and what will you do to help us have an educated workforce for the 21st century? And what are your ideas on how to expand our businesses and help them be successful in our county ecosystem?
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Continuing with our nominee rotation, Mr. Exner, please answer first.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. I appreciate the question.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that has been continually presented to me as a city council in Sandy, and I know sometimes it's really difficult to keep our recurringly new businesses established in our city and in our county, and it's really difficult sometimes. But one of the things that I've been involved in and I have sponsored for quite some time is the community businesses that develop education, like the Ant Farm in our city. It's really been one of those things where we bring in tutors, we bring in educational processes of how to deal with basic work, basic business principles, the things that draw our youth into a place where they stick around in our community, get involved in businesses, get involved in work and labor issues. Another thing that I believe that really is a help for things is that we need to find ways to keep our youth and the young adults in a community, and that is housing as well as establishing jobs within our county and state now. And I believe that is one of the things that really draws our card. And the things that really make a difference here is that it takes 2 and 3 years to get a development through the process of selling the property to establishing foundations and getting houses that we can use to support those who want to live in our communities and work in the businesses and establish working individuals. And I think that's really crucial, is to find a way to get that planning process shrunk down into a way that you can do much more with time that is more compatible with getting our things done. Businesses need to find land that they can also establish themselves, and we have not done very well with that.
Thank you, Mr. Eisner. That is 2 minutes. Next, Ms. Hinman Allen, same question to you.
Great question. So first part of that answer is we need to make it attractive for businesses to want to start up. And one of the problems is we have an enormous cost to start a business. Once you start a business, you are subject to, we have all of our basic taxes, our county, state, federal, county, state, and then you've got your CAT tax that the state has imposed. And I think that has been a huge hindrance. And I think we need to revisit that personally. I'd like to see it repealed and alternative funding sources be, replace that to give our businesses some wings, because that has been a huge saturated cost on businesses. The attractive level for businesses is we have to have a business-friendly environment. And that means like getting from start to finish, making it a more accommodating to businesses. And because we're really seeing businesses leave out of the state, it's a huge problem. We've seen, Intel, they took their plant to Ohio. I mean, that's a big business, but the shrinking down to the local level and small business, they need to know that they're going to have some viability. And so that means there has to be some level of hiatus on imposing more taxes, because that is the thing that fuels the dreams, is having a clear runway. And if you're too saturated with the cost of running a business, you're not going to do it. So I think we need to address the serious financial implications that we're imposing on our small businesses and revisit that. Second of all, just something to the recovery center. My mother, and I'm going to stay on topic because it is another economic question. We can have take people like from the recovery center and put it into, my mom ran a homeless coalition, and they had like a coffee shop and bookstore. So they had liaison businesses where youth could be.
Thank you, Ms. Hinman Allen. That is 2 minutes. Next, Mr. Bunch.
Thanks, Commissioner, for the question. Yeah, taxes and regulations. If we can get rid of them, we can have great businesses. So I think focused on that to start with, new businesses coming in is just being able to streamline the effect in the housing business, the development fees, the permit process is challenging in the construction side of things. But in just Main Street business, just the regulations that inundate an individual trying to navigate the process to open their doors, to turn the lights on. So I think that's a thing, a strong thing for new businesses starting up. The continuing education, I think, a refocus on the community colleges and funding at that level of education or trade schools, so that there is a competent workforce to provide the needs for whatever the community is having, regardless of the industry and where we're at. Again, focusing on reworking the taxes and restrictions, permitting restrictions or business licenses affected to open the door, and then looking at the educational piece at the community college level and trade schools to make sure that the workforce is there. Thank you again for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Mr. Chair, all other commissioners have asked a question. It is now your turn.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. And my questions for the applicants is a little bit of a two-part question. So I'd like to know your experience of introducing legislation or any bills that you've worked on or helped supported is kind of the first part of the question. And then also you get two bills in the short session. And do you have any idea what two bills you would want to introduce to address the needs in the district?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Continuing with our rotation, Ms. Hinman Allen, please answer first.
Great question. Actually, so I would like to introduce, this is sort of a creative bill. One of them is we've spent about 440 to 640 million on wildfire suppression costs. I think like we did in the early days of Portland, the bottle bill, I think we could do something similar. This is really a creative solution for sustainability and forest management. We have a lot of dead wood in our forest and a lot of wood, besides the biodiversity that we need to keep some on the forest floor, we could be preventing wildfire by taking out some of that wood and revitalizing an area where we can use let's say some of in the industrial areas where we can actually take that wood out, get it mulched up, and we could reuse that mulch basically on like our highways. We can reuse it in areas that we have parks all over the city, all over the areas in the state where we could actually create another revenue stream, reasonable revenue stream. We could tackle all the dead wood in the forest that's causing, basically turning it into ignition light match. So basically we could recycle and have sustainability, could be available to the public at a very, very low cost for anybody that would like their more sustainable gardens, low water gardens. I think that would be an interesting way to tackle the wildfire problems. So kind of like our recycling bill that we could actually self-fund it. So and then my second bill would be, I would like to address the cat tax, and I would like to try to repeal that tax. And as I just put one thing forward, that we could have more income revenue, we could remove it from the barriers from the business.
Thank you, Ms. Hinman Allen. That is 2 minutes. Next, Mr. Bunch, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair, for the question. I have not been involved in introducing bills, but I have been involved with bills that have been in front of the public and testifying ways to make them more tolerable to my position as a public individual. One of them being ag overtime. I was really concerned with the ability for the farmer to be able to pay that overtime piece, but not so much the time. So what's happened is they've reduced their ability to be on the farm because they can't pay the overtime. The workers have then gone out to get a second job, reduced their time in the home, created latchkey situations at home, and then caused community issues with the inability to monitor or parent children. So I think it was really active in the ag overtime piece there and trying to get the folks to understand that it will affect the family dynamic in that regard. And again, the transportation bills, the restrictions and then the cost basis of that transportation bill, again, as it related to farmers, but I was actively and testifying in person to try to again get the focus back on what the issues were and being able to be taxed heavily for something that already needed to be done. So those were the two issues that I dealt with, but not introducing the bills. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Finally, Mr. Exner, please go ahead.
Sure, thank you, Chair. I appreciate the question. One of the things that I feel that I bring to the table is I have been on City Council and involved in supporting several legislative thoughts and bills in our representatives. So with Senator Chuck Thompson and with Representative Christine Drazen, both of those I've worked with, trying to do the two areas that I have been really interested in is home rule issues. about how the legislature has been whittling away at our uh, independence and the ability for us to do things on the local level. It's really been a sad situation where they've been working and trying to take that away from us. And I think the things that can be done are on the local level far better than at the level 2 or 3 hierarchies above. I've also been involved in trying to advocate for, I know the city of Sandy has had some real infrastructure economic issues, and I've been before several of the legislators in advocating for, and we've been successful in bringing monies to the city of Sandy for those infrastructure needs that are desperate for us. Going to the 2 bills that I might propose, one of the things that I've seen in terms of the cities, especially in Sandy's condition, and I know that Canby has this thing, and I've mentioned it earlier in my testimony, is that I would like to see the cities have more ability to repair those streets and roads that are ODOT responsibility, that they have a reputation for not getting to as quick as possible, that the city would be far more able to respond to the potholes and to the road degradation that is needed to be able to repair those underneath the city's money, but then be able to get the ODOT to reimburse them. The other thing that I'm really interested in is
Thank you, Mr. Exner.
housing.
That
Sorry.
is 2 minutes.
Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, all nominees have all answered a commissioner question.
So I'm going to turn to my fellow commissioners, and I think we have time for a couple more questions. I know Commissioner Savas had another question, so I think I'll start with Commissioner Savas and then open it if there's another commissioner who wants to say so. Commissioner Savas, you'll have a chance to ask a question, then we'll go through all the candidates so they have equal time to respond to you. So go ahead.
Okay. I think there's a great misunderstanding or perhaps really an update and for some, and that is that what we're finding in Clackamas County and in the metro region as the #1 cause of people falling into homelessness today is economics. And the largest population of the cohort of demographic that's falling into homelessness are senior citizens. Senior citizens do not have drug issues, that don't have mental health issues. They simply are facing an economic crisis. That with that known, with that assumption, how would you help seniors stay in their homes?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Savas. Continuing with our nominee rotation for Commissioner Savas' second question, we'll have Mr. Bunch, then Mr. Exner, and finally Ms. Hinman Allen. Mr. Bunch, please proceed.
Thank you for the question. My family personally involved with that very issue. My wife and I, my wife cleans houses, so her structure is to work with seniors who, again, are attempting to stay in their homes so that they can facilitate have a clean home and the process to get to work, grocery shopping and of sorts. The economic piece of it, so to stay in their house is a challenge. I don't know where that support would come from, Commissioner, but I think the economics of it is to make sure that they do have housing. And so with that, the support to maintain the housing, then the rest of the support, Medicaid, Medicare, transportation all comes into play to keep them in that location. So I think, again, refocusing on some kind of foundation of funding that structure to keep them in-house or housing, whether it's their housing or adequate housing, I think is probably be a bigger and better question as far as a focus for those seniors. So again, thank you for the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Next, Mr. Exner, please proceed.
Sure. Thanks for the question. In fact, it's one of those that gives me a chance to explain my second bill that I was really contemplating, and I call it the odd couple bill, where we have a lot of seniors who the National Association of Realtors estimates that 76% of all of the homes that have no mortgages, so they paid them off, are owned by seniors. And in many cases, I'm personally very aware that they are, if they're just by themselves because of the death of their spouse or because they're at the end of the empty nest situation, empty houses, lots of room for additional places. We need to find a way to increase the ability of our housing issues in the state. And one of those ways is to be able to draw up a way to bring people into housing and also be able to deal with some of the things that happen when you're alone in a house and you fall or you have sickness or you need transportation. Having someone else in your house would be an advantage that way. So I would be one of those bills that I would be advocating for, is to find a way to put a system together where seniors could find ways to get maybe house buddies or an odd couple situation. I'm also aware that in our city, our infrastructure costs have just become outrageous. Just it's really amazing how expensive it is because of the need to repair and increase those infrastructures, sewer and water, drinking. We have tried to do subsidies for our seniors, but of the 4,200 houses within our city, I believe we've only had, the last I checked, was there was only 11 seniors have asked for subsidies. So there's a pride issue there. So we've got a need to figure out how to keep our utility costs down in a place where people can actually afford to stay in their houses. Otherwise, there really isn't going to be any good solution.
Thank you, Mr. Exner. That's 2 minutes. Finally, Ms. Hinman Allen, same question to you.
Commissioner Savas, this is absolutely going to be one of the social security issues of our time, I believe. And the issue with seniors being forced out of their houses. So they have a house, the rising taxes, like you look at our tax bill and, people are on a fixed income. It's very difficult for them to pay that tax. If they go to downsize a house, the house costs more money than the current house they're in that they've bought years and years ago because of the rise of housing cost. So we have a twofold issue. I think we need to look at how can we offset some of those costs by putting some legislation in place to be able to have a tax threshold, a property tax for seniors, maybe that is frozen at a time for a time. Once they reach a certain age, I think that, like I advocated on the campaign trail when I ran for commissioner, which the commissioners thankfully passed it, was the 2-acre minimum for having an ADU, so an accessory dwelling unit, so that seniors could have family members that they could offset the costs. They can have family members living there. That would help offset the cost of care for seniors, because we're talking, if you go into a care facility, that's way out of reach for a lot of people. So they can have family members, or they can offset the cost by having having a rental on their property with an ADU. So I think two-part, we need to address the rising cost of taxes on fixed income. And I think we need to address maybe we do need to do something about our utility costs. They're outrageous. They've gone up about 40 to 45% over the last several years. It's unsustainable between the cost of living, cost of electricity. So I think we have a lot of challenges to address.
Thank you, Ms. Hinman Allen. That is 2 minutes. Mr. Chair, all nominees have answered Commissioner Savas's second question.
Thank you, Andrew. And I'm going to turn to our commissioners, and I think we have time for another question. I want to open it to any other commissioners if they'd like to ask one more question. You don't have to, but if you'd like the opportunity to ask one more question, I'll give you that opportunity.
Chair, I'd like to ask one more question based on some of the information I've just heard from our candidates here. We've talked about affordability for seniors, but we haven't talked yet about the affordability issue for people who are first-time home buyers. How would we rectify that situation? Because affordability is not just a local issue here in Clackamas, quite frankly, it's national right now. So I'd like to hear a little bit, some comments about that issue that we're dealing with. First-time home buyers, affordability, how do we get people into the housing market? The average age is over 40 right now for people who are able to afford a home.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Continuing with our nominee rotation, Mr. Exner, please answer first.
Sure. I haven't brought it up just yet until now, but I have been a realtor for about 20 years. And before that, I owned a property management business in about the turn of the century. Makes me sound old, I guess, but it is one of those things that I have watched the system of how first timers have tried very diligently to find homes. And there have been times during that 20 plus years that I've seen the good times and the bad times, the feeding frenzies that happen, and then currently we're in a inventory shortage. So definitely when you have lots of demand, the prices go up, and that's what's happening right now. Quite frankly, I advise some of my first timers to be careful and cautious about your budget. Nothing worse than buying a house that's at the very edge of your profitability, your income, and then suddenly you get a medical issue or you get a loss of a job, and the house becomes unaffordable. That's really uncomfortable for our first timers. And I would advocate strongly for more information, more training. A number of the real estate offices provide first time buyers information. And I'm not a large government person. I think that the private businesses can do far better, far more informed, and more productive in that way they present their reasons. And it's for a purpose of their own businesses. So I would advocate more of finding the local real estate offices, the escrow offices, to do their best in being able to bring the first timers to the place where they know how to establish that, or mortgages. And I think that would be the best way to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Exner. Next, Ms. Hinman Allen, same question to you.
This is a great question, Commissioner Schrader. So, I mean, there are some programs like first-time home buyer programs, Home Smart, Home Ready. Don't quote me on those because I haven't looked those up right this minute, but I know in the past, as being a realtor, and I was a lender prior to that, there are those programs. I think awareness is the key, but I think to touch on your education piece, I think we need to have more opportunities in school for personal finance. And I think I would really like to advocate for that, because a lot of students come out of high school not understanding the ramifications of their credit, not understanding the ramifications of keeping a budget. And so what happens is they're going out in the world sort of ill-equipped to understand the broader picture. I think we can have those conversations, or in college as well, the economics, and really touch on that. But I think the awareness and perhaps creating some sort of more broadcasted program for home buyers in the legislation. I mean, we can address that. It's tricky because it is the private sector. Home costs are set, homeowners decide with the help of, their realtor doing market analysis on cost of homes, finance. We need to get the rates down. That's number one. That's causing a huge cost in mortgages. So, I mean, these are issues I'd really have to deep dive on what we can do when most of that sector is private. But I think awareness and education and front loading students, understanding the broader picture of their whole financial picture as they are becoming young adults would be super helpful. Would equip them better. So that's my take on that. My time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hinman Allen. Finally, Mr. Bunch, same question to you.
Mr. Bunch, I think you're muted. I can't hear you, at least. I don't know if anybody else can.
Yes, I agree, Commissioner West. Mr.
It
Bunch.
was my bad. Thank you for the call. So I think it's affordability becomes with the ability to have them available, supply and demand. I think the focus isn't on first home buyers, but identifying communities that have the ability to grow and the want to grow. and invest in the infrastructure so they have the ability to decide how to grow. First and foremost, I think the reduction of fees, development fees that are forced on the builders, get alleviated somewhat by that, by investing in the infrastructure. Streamlining the permit process so that inventory becomes more available and pricing comes down. So then you can build the style and development and where those communities are built based on what the local elected officials want to grow and develop. So I think the availability of having reasonable housing depends on the communities where they grow, and working from Salem to build that infrastructure so then they can decide how to grow and build those communities, and design for a first-time buyer or affordability. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, all nominees have responded to Commissioner Schrader's second question.
All right, I want to be very fair to my colleagues, so I'm going to give both Commissioner West and Commissioner Helm an opportunity to ask a question if they'd like. So do I see one of you would like to make a question? I see Diana Helm has her hand raised. Andrew, you want to moderate the time and question for us?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Helm, please ask your question.
Thank you, Andrew, and Chair. So I firmly believe that our land use laws that are in place today, that were done 50 years ago, were progressive at the time, and I find them regressive now. I think it contributes to the cost of housing. Do you think, I'm asking each and every one of you, do you think our current land use laws are fair? Do you think they contribute to the cost of high housing? And are you willing to challenge at the state level the need to bring our land use laws to modern times?
Thank you, Commissioner Helm. Continuing with our candidate nomination, our rotation, Ms. Hinman Allen, please answer first.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. It's a really good question, and it is actually driving the cost of housing up because it's based on supply and demand. We don't have enough supply because we're very constricted. And I feel very strongly that we need to address it, and I would advocate for that in the legislature. We need to basically, we need to bring all the stakeholders in, because running for county commissioner twice, I heard a diverse set of opinions on that. And I think there's a way to do it to where people can feel there's a buy-in, because there has to be a buy-in to it as well. I think there's a way we can strategically do it in areas that will start to alleviate the compression. And so I would definitely challenge that in the legislature. And I'd love to sit down with everybody and talk about some strategic ways to do that, looking at the maps and, seeing where the areas that we can address first, and then go from there, because it's going to be like a process. So I am open to doing that because it's absolutely making the housing costs through the roof because of the lack of inventory, and because that is part of pricing. When you have a house that you're putting on the market and there's only 5 in that area, the price escalates because it's now supply and demand. So I think that will help eventually our first-time home buyers, people selling, livability. It'll help with congestion, which goes into the overall infrastructure. When we open up the land use, it will spread things out a bit more. So it will alleviate a lot of pressure in the inner corridors. So yes, I would be open to that completely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hinman
Wish we
Allen.
had more time.
Next, Mr. Bunch, please, same question to you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. The land use is antiquated. It served its purpose. I think to be able to have a controlled growth is something that needs to be mindful at every level, from state, county, city level. I think part of that has to be, again, a real hard look at the EFU regulations, the exclusive farm use. fairly restrictive. And so some give there on where and how that grows, I think is an area that needs to be looked at hard and strong as far as growth goes. But yes, I'd be favored and would advocate for a change in direction, not just to liberalize land use, but to have an open view of where and how it grows. So again, a big part of that would be looking at the EFU regs. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Finally, Mr. Exner, please proceed.
Sure. A little bit of my background again. Before I got involved in the city council positions, I was on the city's planning commission for about 5 years. Biggest issue through all the developers that I discussed this with, and even during my time as a realtor and as a city council, has been the complexity and the length of time it takes to put a development from square one, to purchase the property, to the point of selling and giving keys to the people that are buying those houses. It's just been a very elongated process. And I understand the actually good parts about our current land use laws, which prevent things like industrial areas right up against the back doors of our single family homes. Nobody wants to have a noisy, smelly industrial area in their backyard. So there's a really good reason for having these laws and rules in place. But we have established over the years a long process of making planning difficult as well as lengthened out. Now, one of the things that I was a proponent of and we were able to establish when I first got into city council in Sandy was a response time of under 30 days to every planning proposal. And that seems like a long time, but before that, it was up to 6 months. And the thing that really pushes this one a lot is that there are a very large need for more planning staff. We just don't have that kind of staff to respond to the requests and to be responding quickly so that we don't have these long-term planning responses and expensive, especially when it comes to the onesies and twosies. The big planning developments, they bring their lawyers, their architects, a long list of people that need to be part of that process, but the singles are really struggling with making that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Exner. That is 2 minutes. Mr. Chair, all nominees have had the opportunity to answer Commissioner Helms' second question.
All right, I will turn to Commissioner West for his question.
I think I'm going to go, just for time's sake, a simpler question. I was going to ask something about Medicaid and cuts and healthcare funding, which is a big issue that we'll probably be having with whoever is picked today. But another big issue around state budget and state costs is going into the next session, we're going to be told we have no money for nothing and looking to make big cuts. So my question to you is, do you support the kicker? And if so, why? If not, why? And would you defend the kicker in any legislative action to use it to bail out state funding?
Thank you, Commissioner West. Continuing with our rotation, Mr. Bunch, please go first.
Yeah, I would not be in support of taking the kicker back to general fund. I think the system was set up. That's what the public has operated by. And if indeed the budgetary cycle then is unable to manage itself in a fashion that doesn't create that excess, then more appropriate. But I think I would not be in favor of retro backing and taking control of a kicker that was promised to the public. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Next, Mr. Exner, please proceed.
Sure, I am also would be against returning the kicker back to the general budget. It just seems that it's the law, for one. It's also something that would be a money infusion within our citizens. And I think that's something that I hear a lot of my constituents talking to me about is where do they get the money? How do they get through some of these very difficult, expensive times, food costs, gasoline costs. There's a lot of needs for putting that in the hands of the folks that can spend that. Plus, it's an economic infusion for our state. One of the things that I would advocate, though, is I'm an advocate for doing the most important thing is the most important thing. There's a lot of things that we put on our responsibility of our state and local officials that we may not be able to afford. I think we need to focus on what is the critical few things that our state is really just told to do and should be responsible for. And I think expending more money on things that are not as critical, and I am an advocate for doing the things that need to be done correctly, that take care of public safety, things that are focused on keeping our citizens supported in finding the critical things that are part of their life established, home, food, safety, and I think that's really, and healthcare. I think that's really the place we should spend our energies on, and not try to add to all the things that seem to be the way our legislature works. So thanks for that question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Exner. Finally, Ms. Hinman Allen, same question to you, please.
Great question, Commissioner West. I actually, on principle and ethics, I believe that if the citizens overpay, that it needs to be returned to the citizens. If I go in the grocery store and I overpay, I want my change back. So I really think just that culture of usurping monies, of course, it is the legal thing to return it to the people. I would defend the kicker going back to the public because I think it definitely would bolster the economy. It would help people that have gone through a variety of challenges over the last 6 months, help people in their livelihoods. So I would defend that kicker going back to the public 100% on principle and law. Second of all, I think that we do need to refine the budgets. I would defend core services, core function when it comes to budgets. And I think we do need to trim out things. If there is a trimming, it's not going to be core. It's not going to be supportive services, because I think those are essential to the stability of our county and to our state. So I think that looking at the budgets overall when it's presented, if I am fortunate enough to be appointed, that I will advocate for things that are essential and things that are not going to impact the county's progress and the state's progress. So we can't go backwards with it, but we have to go forward and be a little more fiscal, just like I'm fiscal in my personal budgets. I think the government does need to be fiscal with the public's money. And I think we can have the best of both worlds with some real creative thinking. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hinman Allen. Mr. Chair, all commissioners have asked a second question.
Right. Thank you, Andrew. I think we're at a time where we'll take a short recess and we'll come back for applicants' closing comments. So my clock shows about 11:22, 23. How about we come back at 11:30, take a short break, and we'll come back. I think we could go ahead and proceed.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you approve, it is now time for closing statements from the nominees.
Yes, Andrew, let's now move to closing statements, and I'd ask you to moderate and keep track of the time for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Nominees, as a reminder, you will each have 2 minutes. In reverse order from our opening statements, Ms. Hinman Allen, would you please begin?
First of all, it's been a pleasure discussing all these very important topics with all of you. I will say to 4 of you, I know your issues and policies, that things that are important to you, because I listened to you on the campaign trails. I had the pleasure of being a part of being in speaking events, so I know where you stand on a variety of issues. To Commissioner Helm, it's been a pleasure speaking to you on some of your issues that are important to you in the county. I will say that I am a bridge builder. I listen to people. I've testified in the legislature on issues regarding wells, real estate issues. I've I've been involved on negotiating committees when I was in a union on contract negotiations for a cycle. I've served my community in many ways. And I do believe that running for office twice is serving your community. Whether you do get elected or not, you're making a difference, you're raising awareness, and you're building relationships. I will say if I am fortunate enough to be chosen as the appointment, I will serve with integrity, ethics, honesty, and commitment to sitting down with all stakeholders in every decision I make. Everybody is welcome to come in my office if I am chosen. And I want to hear from all perspectives, diverse perspectives. And I am a person that will find common ground and I'll find creative solutions. So I want you to know that if you choose me, that I will do my highest and best to serve House District 51 and be an advocate for civil rights, affordability, housing, land use, projects that help the community. Because I think the most important thing right now at this time is we need to find common ground and solutions for the problems facing our state.
That is 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Exner, please proceed.
Sure. Thank you for this opportunity. I tell you, it's been a privilege to be able to be part of the whole process of interviewing, being selected on the county side, and now finally part of this in terms of the county commissioners. Thank you, each one of you county commissioners, for your hard work, and I look forward to being a part of whatever decision you have. If you select someone else, I will support them as well. But I do believe in the process that we're going through. To me, I think that the citizens of Sandy, Malala, Estacada, the unincorporated properties within the county, and the legislators, the staff, I believe in the fact that we can find solutions for all these things. And my process of being involved as a city council has been always to look first to my constituents. How do I understand what they want me to represent them for? How do I pull that together and present it in a way that it can be heard, even in a controversial or difficult situation? And I know how to do that. One of the things that I believe that I can be is successful. I've run 4 other council candidacies, and I think that consistency is important. So when I am through this particular piece of the appointment, I would intend to run and be further lengthening my time as representing the county and the district. Finally, my passions are about communicating with people, both constituents as well as the folks who are in similar positions, the county commissioners, the mayors, the city councils, the board members of systems like the school and fire boards. Those are people I know of. So that would be my passion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Exner. That is 2 minutes. Finally, Mr. Bunch, please go ahead with your closing statement.
Thank you again for your time and consideration today. I'm seeking the appointment because I care deeply about our communities and believe now is the time for steady, practical leadership in Salem. If selected, I'll be tireless advocate for House District 51, someone who listens, leads with integrity, and works every day to protect the values we share. I'd be honored to earn your trust and represent the people of House District 51 with humility, accountability, and action. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Mr. Chair, that concludes all nominees' concluding statements.
Okay, board, we're now going to move to deliberations. And for deliberations, I'll open the floor to any commissioner who wishes to speak. After everyone's had a chance to speak, I will call for a vote. So if you could raise your hand, I'll go ahead and have Andrew call on you as he sees you raise your hand.
Mr. Chair, I see no commissioner hands. Excuse me, Commissioner West just raised his hand. Commissioner West, please proceed.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to give my colleagues a chance, but it looks like I'll be the first one to jump in here. Once again, I want to thank our three candidates for putting yourselves out there and doing this. It is not easy. And once you get into the fray here, there is a lot of very complicated, in-depth policy issues that you have to grapple with, and they're going to come at you really fast. And actually, I believe Ledge Days is starting, and pretty soon one of you will be added to committees. I think I am getting word that right after this, you guys will hit the ground running, get sworn in, and figure out hopefully what committees you're going to be on, and going into a short session at a really difficult time for our state. Our state's struggling deeply, and a lot of these issues were caused by Oregonians that did it to Oregonians. I can't think of a state agency off the top of my head that's thriving. I can't think of a sector in the business community that isn't sharing its struggles or laying off individuals or leaving to another state. Portland faces an economic doom loop. We still face a fentanyl crisis, substance use disorder, mental health crisis, lack of infrastructure, cuts in Medicaid and healthcare, civil unrest, lack of law enforcement support, and a lack of individuals who actually want to get into law enforcement to keep safe communities. Our forests are often on fire, and a lack of natural management of natural resources. We're a smaller state on the West Coast. We have a lot of land, but not a lot of people. So we don't have the most amount or the biggest voice in DC, but we failed to take care of Main Street. So with that said, my support's going to go towards the individual that I think has the background to quickly be a great partner to the county and has shown the background through his public service overall for years, whether it's in dealing with farms, when it's dealing with natural resources, fair board, capital projects, building solid relationships. It's a hard decision. Also, based on the answers I heard today, I have to listen closely. I think a lot of you have a lot to learn on policy. I just do. Like you're gonna be at the end of a fire hose, and you're gonna be up for reelection real fast. And you're the one district that is like all Clackamas, and you're gonna be our partners. So we're there to help you, but you got to study up. You have a lot to do. We have a lot of work to do together. But with that being said, and based on what I heard today and listened carefully, I'm gonna give Matt Bunch my support. Matt, you have my vote today, and that's where I'm leaning. But we have big issues to face in Oregon, and I'm trying to figure out who I think would be the most ready partner to work with other electeds, and who we've specifically and directly already worked with and has a track record of working with. Matt, we've had to work with you on big issues and big, huge multi-million-dollar projects with the Fair Board. I know we can work with you. I know you can work with the caucus. So with that, that's tipping my vote over to Matt. I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but I'm just going to go ahead and put out there where I'm leaning. Thank you.
Commissioner Savis, I see your hand. Please proceed.
Yeah, I think the most difficult parts of this job is appointing people. And I've done many appointments over the years, and this year has been no exception to that. I know all three of you. I know the passion you all bring to the table, so this is a difficult decision. I think each of you would do a great job in this. I think that some of the points that Commissioner West made are spot on. I will say that knowing the district, the geography of the district and the needs of the district, I think is incredibly important. So it's going to be a challenging job for whoever gets this position. I'm not going to express my leanings at the moment. I think I know where I'm going to be landing. But I will say that I want to thank each of you for all of your community involvement, all the committees you've all served on, all your work. I know you have served with heart. So I just hope that you will all continue to serve regardless who prevails here today, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Savas. Commissioner Schrader, I see your hand. Please proceed.
Well, I just wanted to thank Commissioner Savas. He pretty much really kind of said what I was going to say. Uh, this has been an extraordinary year with a number of appointments that we've had to move forward with. And the difficulty is that I have to say all the folks who have stepped up to this to the podium, in a sense, to put themselves forward, have all served our communities well, have all been people who have been active, who have certainly the intelligence and the experience to fill the job. So I just want to commend all of you for this as we move forward with a decision. As I said, it's never easy because I feel like in a way we're in the middle of Sophie's choice. We have to, you kind of have to pick one when you wish you could actually have all three enter into public service at the same time. So thank you all for that. And thank you for your service in your previous iterations. I know, Dana, you've been active in the community for years. Mr. Bunch, I know you serve on our fair board. And Carl, I know that you have been one of the pillars in Sandy, Oregon.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Commissioner Helm, I see your hand.
Thank you. And I would like to thank the candidates as well. I know this is hard. I was just recently appointed myself, and now I've had to go through several of these processes already. And it is kind of the hardest part of the job. And
Yeah.
we have three solid candidates. And I will say I had great conversations with a couple of you, and I appreciate you reaching out. I got to know you better. I know one of you more than the other, but I also know how you've all stepped up to help in your own communities, and I have great respect for that. So it's hard for me because I'm kind of at a disadvantage. I haven't been around as long as all these other commissioners in this position, but I have been in this community and I have been serving in the background for many, many years myself. So based on the knowledge that I have from that, I'm fairly certain I will know which way I'm going here. But I also just want to say thank you to everyone, because it's tough to get into this position, and you do have a lot of work ahead of you in a very short amount of time, because I am still drinking from the fire hose.
Thank you, Commissioner Helm. Mr. Chair, I do not see at this time any other commissioner hands raised.
All right, Andrew, I will now call for a vote. So clerk, would you please call the poll for us?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, please cast your vote by saying the name of the nominee you wish to vote for when I call on you. First, Commissioner Helm.
Andrew, I cast my vote for Matt Bunch.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner West.
Today, I'll cast my vote for Matt Bunch.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
I'll cast my vote for Matt Bunch.
Commissioner Schrader.
I'll cast my vote for Mr. Bunch as well.
Mr. Chair.
And I'll cast my vote for Mr. Bunch as well. So council, has plurality been reached?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Bunch has received the plurality of the votes and is the appointee.
Right. Thank you. And on behalf of the whole board, congratulations to Mr. Bunch. And we want to give you any chance to make some brief remarks.
Thank you, Chair Roberts. What a very humbling experience. Again, well aware of hitting boots on the ground and running. And what a great joy it is to see three qualified individuals to step up for this important appointment. I think it's important that I'll show up every day with humility and determination to look at the people and constituents of House District 51. First and foremost, those people are the ones that I want to serve and make a difference to, but with partnerships like the County Commission. So thank you again for this incredible opportunity. I'm ready to get to work for House District 51.
right, thank you. And just before we conclude, I want to extend my thanks to all three nominees for having the courage and willingness to serve. Our board admires your enthusiasm for public service and encourages you to continue to offer your time and your talent to the community. And I will say, it was extremely difficult. And when I look at each one of you, your sacrifice and what you give to the community and your time and effort should really be applauded. Um, Matt from the Fair Board, Carl, all your service at City Council, and Dana, all your efforts that you have done stepping up to support the community in many ways is gone forward not unnoticed. So I want to again thank you and echo what our board has said is we appreciate the time and effort that you've taken to step up and to serve your community. So I also want to extend a thanks to the public again for taking time to share your input, and we deeply appreciate that. So I will turn to our council. Is there anything else we need to do for today's selection?
No, Chair. The form that we submit to the Secretary of State's office will be completed after the meeting, but that should take care of the business.
Right. Well, if not, then we'll be adjourned. And again, thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.